It's really good when we're faced with uncertainty to think about how the Bible might help us. There's this great verse in Deuteronomy chapter 1 that I reckon is really helpful. The situation in Deuteronomy is that Moses is giving some instruction to the people as they're about to enter the promised land. They're going into a place that's got dangers and uncertainties that they've never faced before. And he could tell them about everything that's up ahead, give them a heads up, but what he actually does is he reminds them to look back. And he says, you know, you've been in dangerous territory before, you've had uncertainties before. You were in Egypt and God rescued you from there. God took you all the way through the desert to this point. And this is what he says to them in Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 31. Back there, you saw how the Lord your God carried you, as a father carries his son, all the way until you reached this place. Now, I had a new appreciation for that verse a number of years back. About 18 years ago, one night, my son was mucking around and got himself into a predicament. And he came to us for help, and my wife and I tried to help him, but the more we tried to help him, the more he started to scream in pain. And so we ended up realising that we needed some help ourselves, so we took him up to the local hospital at Hornsby to the emergency department, and we watched while the staff there, the medical staff there, tried all the things that we had tried at home with exactly the same result, that he just screamed more and more, until eventually they realised they couldn't do anything. And they said, we need to transfer him to the children's hospital at Westmead. So we had an ambulance ride across to Westmead. We saw a paediatrician, and the paediatrician said, we need to put him under general anaesthetic to solve this. And we said, okay. So they put him under general anaesthetic. The problem was solved in about 5 minutes. It was fantastic. And then by this time it's maybe 1 or 2 in the morning, and we had to go home. And my son was still really groggy from the anaesthetic, so I had to carry him to the car. At that time, my son was about 6 years old and weighed around 20 kilos. And the car park was a fair distance away from where I was carrying him from. And about halfway to the car, my wife said, would you like me to take a turn in carrying him? And I said, no, it's okay. He actually feels as light as a feather. I think I could carry him forever. And it really felt like that. I felt like I could have if I'd needed to. So I understood what it means when it says, the Lord your God carried you as a father carries his child. So here's Moses, as the people are facing uncertainty, dangers they've never faced before. And he says to them, look back and remember that the Lord your God carried you all the way until you reached this place. Why would he do that? Well, I think it's because he wanted them to remember in the future that God had carried them all the way to the place they were in, so that they would remember in the uncertainties ahead that he would carry them all the way through those as well. So how about today you try and tell somebody of a time when you can remember experiencing that God was carrying you. Maybe ask them, maybe jot a comment on this video, but let's encourage one another that God has carried us all the way to this point, and whatever is up ahead, he will continue to carry us as the good and faithful God that he is.